Welcome to EJH British Cars. So we're going to do a little brake work. I've got a spare slave master cylinder for the Rover, and I believe it's also used in a lot of the Jags in the 70s. So the Rover is kind of odd. It has a master cylinder bolted to the firewall, and the master cylinder also has a vacuum valve. And then on the opposite side, not behind the headlights, is this slave master cylinder with the vacuum booster on the back, and it's also tandem. So the master cylinder presses the back of the tandem cylinders, and then those push fluid forward, front and rear on the brakes. So it's kind of complex, and I think it's like that because the area where the steering column comes through with the brakes and all the rest of that is underneath where the steering box is on the firewall. It's really tight space, and I don't think there's enough room for a vacuum booster in there, which I expect is why they do that. Anyway, kind of a long intro, but what the heck. Let's get started. I want to take this one apart, so I want to I'm just guessing, it looks kind of beat up. It's a spare that I bought off of eBay. And we're probably going to send it off to Apple Hydraulics and have it re-sleeved. But let's take it apart and find out. So I thought I'd start and show you the one in the car. So this car is left-hand drive, and we're standing at the front. So there's the steering box, and the brake master cylinder is below that over there. And this is the valve. It's the brake master cylinder. This is the air or vacuum valve. And these all have separate reservoirs, and this is the pressure line. This pressure line comes up, you can see it there, along the cross member and up and in, and this is the slave master cylinder. So this is the actual master. Here's the pressure from the master cylinder coming in, and then this is the, I think that's the rear brakes, and that's the front brakes, I think. I may have that backwards. Anyway, you'll see on your car. That's the reservoir going down to there. Then this is vacuum directly from the manifold right back there. And then this goes over, follows the cross member, comes up into that valve and through, and then back to here. So when your foot is off the brake, that is open. This vacuum goes on this side, and so there's vacuum on both sides of the diaphragm here, so it doesn't go anywhere. When you hit the brake, it disconnects this vacuum line from that vacuum line, and also connects this one to atmosphere, which allows the vacuum to pull and assist with the braking. So I thought I'd show it to you in the car because it's a little easier to describe what's going on. So we'll go look at the one we're going to work on today. So here's the replacement, or the extra, and it's obviously out of the car. This was sitting towards the front bumper. That's the rear of the car. That's where the reservoir hooked up. Front and rear brake outlets. This is the inlet for the pressure from the master cylinder. These are the main vacuum inlet and the vacuum transfer through the valve. And this is the port to the rear. And this actually still has a rebuilder tag on it, surprisingly enough. Anyway, so you can see it's kind of old, but it's got a lot of surface rust. It looks like it's been sitting around somewhere for a very long time. So let's go ahead and get this apart and see what we can do with it. I've cleaned it off a little bit, and I was just taking out this port. This one's broken, so I imagine that's why this didn't work in the other car. So these are really kind of tight, particularly after they've been in here this long. But it's just rubber pushed through. Well, the rubber is pushed in because it's a type of grommet. And then these plastic pieces just have this serrated nipple, much bigger on the other side. But that's those out. And then this is bolted in from the back of this side. But we'll try not to lose anything in. So there's a big spring in this thing. So there's the spring. There's the spring in the bottom. So It's probably about 10 pounds of pressure or so at a guess. It's not that bad, but it just makes it very fiddly to take this thing apart. This is in two halves. There's this big shell, and then there's this back plate. And as you look, you can see this has fingers that go through here, and there's 12 pushes. So I took a big pry bar and I just bent them out just a little bit, because otherwise this thing is almost impossible to turn. I think they put that in and then they like hammer it to make sure it doesn't walk away. So what we're gonna have to do is get a hold of this thing so we can turn it. So I put a little penetrating oil, really mostly just to lubricate this. This thing is not really dusty or dirty, it's just been together a long time. And if you look, there's a tab. This is the big tab of space, big tab of space, big tab of space. And in these spaces, right there, there's a tab that is on this piece. And there's just a little space between the edge of the tab and the end of that thing, and that's got it to turn the first 1/4 inch. So I nearly need 2 hands, really 3 hands to do this. I'm just going to put the camera on the stool. I can't see that, but that is moving. I'm 2/3 of the way over now. And there it is. So here it is. You can see it's had a lot of moisture in it over the years. This is the diaphragm, and that's pinched in. That's one of the reasons why this is so hard to turn. It's pushed against that rubber. So I wanted to put out how well you can see that. But see how that edge is scalloped? So you get that to line up with these in pushes. So that was about halfway across. So there's a big plastic protrusion. The actual piston in this is plastic. This is just a seal. So this fits underneath the lip of this mushroom in the center. So other than being really dirty, this doesn't look that bad. So you may want to keep it as a spare. These kits, if you can find them, are very expensive. I think I paid over $100 for the last one I bought, and that was several years ago. This also fits a TR8. So if it is good, I would clean it up and just hang on to it, because you never know when you might need it. The problem you can get is if you're leaking brake fluid in there, you can deteriorate that thing while everything else is good. Now if you look in here, right there, you should see a little white line under that slot, and that is a tab with a slot down the center, and that's what holds all this together. So we need to get that out to be able to remove this piece from there. So you hold that in a down position, and then as you can see, that's working its way out now just by clicking it back and forth. And there's the tab. So you just want to make sure you understand the orientation. So this goes with these two vacuum holes, the big holes, up, and those connections all facing up, and the two mounting bolts face down. Here's the back side. Here's the 3 mounting nuts. So you can see that this is a lock plate in here, and that's what's holding so they won't back out. So we're going to have to push the tabs over a little bit. We'll do it gently and try and save this, and then we can take those 3 bolts out. So I soaked them in penetrating oil, and I folded those tabs back. And this is a small impact gun. I wouldn't want to use anything too powerful. I don't want to break these off. But they came right out with that. So yay. So those came off by hand. So there's the big washer and the locking tabs. You can see there's a plastic bushing here, and I think that's just kind of caught this. There we go. So a couple of light taps and off it comes. I was just looking at that, and those 3 bolts are not equally spaced, so it only really fits one way, and the hole in the top of this washer goes up between the narrowest section of that Y. You can see that's flat and these ones have peaks on them. So it'll be easy to keep it correct when you put it back together. So this thing should all fall apart, but this is old and rusty, so this piece comes off. I jiggled this around and that loosened up a little bit, and I did have to grab it with a pair of channel locks to lift it out. And that goes with this bushing, or facing up, flat side faces down. I took that's the nipple that supplies the fluid, and this is one of the I think that's the front, I'm not sure, but you can see this has some sort of probably a one-way valve in here. So there's a little plastic piece. There's the spring, and there's also a little dowel or something in the bottom there, and I don't know if it's secured or it's just rusted in place. There we go. The tiny piston, I'm not sure what it does exactly, but it's in the chamber that allows fluid in. It could also be a retaining pin for the cylinders. So here's the order that it was in the thing. So after that blue-green plastic bushing that was there, this is a rubber cup, then some sort of a spacer, small spring, a centering washer, and then this is the plungers. This one pushes that one. These are the two. It's hard to tell, but there's a rubber seal right there. There's another one there. This is the rear cylinders in the front. No, front and the rear. And then there's a sort of a cone washer that the spring fits over, and that all fits in like that. So it actually all came apart. I shot in PB Blaster and let it soak in for a little while. Wiggling this around, got this out, and then just taking this and hitting it like this on the anvil on the back of my vise, everything came out. As rusty as this was, I tell you, PB Blaster is really something else. I used another product for years, the one in the blue can with the yellow writing, and PB Blaster, I mean, that stuff worked pretty well, but this stuff is, I don't know if it's the best penetrating oil in the world, but boy, it's got to be in the top 10, or at least in my experience, and it's readily available everywhere. So I ran a hone down here quick, and there's pitting down this bore, so I'm going to send this off to Apple Hydraulics and get it sleeved, and then we'll go from there. I don't know how much of this stuff is available. I mean, certainly all the rubber seals are, but like this push rod is kind of rusty, so because I'm going to have the other one to take apart, and the other one is in better shape as far as these internal components, so I may take two to get one, but this way here I can send this off, because it takes the last time I had one done, it took about 6 weeks to get it sleeved. That way there, because the one that's in the car is still in the car, I can still drive the car. So that's good. And the reason I'm doing this is when I sit, particularly at a traffic light with your foot lightly on the brakes, sometimes the pedal just creeps down, and that usually means bad seals in your master cylinder, because there's two master cylinders on this. So I have replaced the front one a while ago, and just to be sure, I took it apart in another video and rebuilt it, and we did find a little bit of rubber debris in there, but that doesn't seem to have fixed it. So what I remember, because I've had the other slave master apart, I don't know if that's the right word, but it's the only thing I can think to describe this, and it was a little beat up, but it looked like it was all right. So, you know, maybe it wasn't. Anyway, So I'm going to send this off, and that'll end this for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and comment, and we'll see you next time.